initially park on the spaces that are on the side first and then fill up the other spaces. Because today, for example, these two spaces and it very inconveniences others. So if you can just bear that in mind. So tonight's lesson will resume the concise presentation of Fiqh. The Islamic dates should
Get
I
it.
think it's the 24th.
26th night
It's the 26th night
of Jumaadaa Al-Uulaa 1443. Yes.
1443.
I'll leave the Christian date for you.
29th of December 21. We're resuming the Ghusl, inshallah.
We're going to be starting from the Ghusl al-Mustahabba, recommended washes. I have no idea in English. What page is that? 60? 64. Recommended wash.
Okay, occasions in which it is recommended to make the ghusl. And just to put a caveat, we may use terms that some brothers may find uncomfortable, but in the matters of the religion, we should shy away from any issue. Just want to give that caveat. Performing ghusl for every separate act of sexual intercourse. Abu Rafi narrated that the Prophet ﷺ would visit his different wives during one night and make ghusl for each one. Abu Rafi said to him, O Messenger of Allah ﷺ, can't you just make it once? He replied, this is purer, better, and more purifying.
Alhamdulillah. ثم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. We are still in the wash, and we will be inshallah tonight giving you the complete wash according to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ after we finish the chapter. And here he's talking about the recommended washes, meaning those washes which they are recommended. They're not compulsory, they're recommended. First one, every time there's an intercourse, whether it is you have more than one wife, whether you have the wife you are intercoursing, you want to do again. For the Prophet ﷺ, he had made one ghusl for all of them, and the Prophet ﷺ, he was made ghusl for each one, and he's been asked, why don't you just make it one ghusl? He said, this is better. And we have another hadith which we have discussed before in Sahih Imam Muslim on the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, if one of you used to come to his family, meaning his wife, in intercourse, then he wanted to go back again after the first one, let him make wudu. So we have ghusl, if you know, better, but if you don't have, so there's the strength to make the ghusl, then you make the wudu. And there is an authentic as well addition to this with Ibn Khuzaymah, which is authentic. فَإِنَّهُ أَنْشَطُ لِلْعَوْدِ. It is actually more of power to the person. So this ghusl or this wudu, it will give the person some sort of active, okay? So like a natural active, instead of using those things which are the medicine, this is something as well from the sunnah of the Prophet of Allah. It will give him more power. So this is number one, it is better for the person when he wants to make intercourse. Number two is following the sunnah of the Messenger, salawatu rabbi wa salamuhu alayhi. So remember that. First ihtisal is every time there's an intercourse. Second one?
Second one is the performing of the ghusl for every prayer by the woman who is mustahada. She can perform the ghusl for every prayer or for the noon and afternoon prayers together with one ghusl, and the sunset and night prayer with one ghusl, and the morning prayer with another ghusl. This is based on the report from Aisha radiallahu anha, who said, Habiba had continued bleeding during the time of the Messenger of Allah and ordered her to make the ghusl for every prayer. In another narration, she stated, a woman had continuous bleeding during the time of the Prophet and he ordered her to pray the afternoon prayer earlier while delaying the noon prayer, and to perform one ghusl for both of them. He also ordered that she delay the sunset prayer and pray the night prayer earlier and make one ghusl for both of them.
Right.
And he also ordered that she make one ghusl for the morning prayer.
All right, what is mustahada? Mustahada is the woman who does have blood running outside her period time. Each woman, when she reaches her puberty, normally is the case that she will have set of days every month between 5 to 10 days. The customary period is always 6 to 7 days, but sometimes some of them 10 days, some of them 12 days, some of them 5 days. This one comes to them at each month at a particular time. This blood comes out, she's not allowed to pray. But this istihada is a blood comes out that top period, which is not in that time, and it hasn't got the same color. We're going to be discussing, inshallah, istihada and how maybe, inshallah, maybe in next 2 weeks. And we ask everybody to bring even his wife and also his daughters and sisters in order to benefit from this. So let's just now talk about the istihada. Istihada. So this istihada is blood comes out outside this time. Now this istihada, she still has to do her prayer. She's not like the one on her menses or the one on her postnatal, which is after birth. This one, she has to need the prayer. Her blood is different. It's not the same blood, which is the dark blood, and the one who's got a distinguished smell, which is of the hayd. No, this is like istihada. Blood comes out from the outside the run of the time of the hayd. And the Prophet of Allah, he said, Rakdah min rakalat shaitan. It is the shaitan who makes like sort of a vein explodes there, and that's like a vein explodes with her, and that's bleeding from her private part, but it's not hayd. In such a case, the scholars had differed regarding how she should make her purification for the salah. They differed. Some of them, they said she has to do it for every prayer. Some of them, they said to it, not within the time of the prayer. Some of them said you could combine between the prayers. Some of them said you can't combine between the prayers. But what we are concerned about here is to make sure that we understand what is the recommended ghusl. And we will talk about as well the obligation. Recommended ghusl is for her, first of all, she does not need to make ghusl. Wudu is enough for her. But because the blood is going all the time from her, it's gushing, like hadith Himna bint Abi Kabsh, she had blood, and the Prophet, he said, just use like a piece of cloth. He said, Messenger of Allah, innahu yathujju shadthajja. It's like gushing out too much. So the Prophet ﷺ told her now what to do for her case, because the blood is too much. She would be embarrassed, for example, to come to the masjid. The blood's going to come out of her. So he made for her a combination. And this combination, for all women who've got istihada, they have this combination. If she is strong enough to make this combination by delaying the dhuhr to the end of the time of the dhuhr and bring asr to the beginning time of the asr, and then does one ghusl for both. One ghusl for both. And this is the best. But if she wants to, she can make wudu. She doesn't have to make ghusl. Wudu for both. So it is not like the actual combination. The dhuhr still is in dhuhr, and the asr is still in asr. So it's not like the real combination will bring dhuhr to asr or asr to dhuhr. No. And that's, as I said, not all the scholars had said this. Some of them, they said there's no combination. Some of them said, no, there is actual combination. But here the hadith of Himna, Prophet of Allah, he said, قال تؤخر الظهر وتعجل العصر. He did not say combine. He said delay the dhuhr. So let's say dhuhr now. At the moment, we know that it starts about 12 o'clock and it finishes about 1:45. Okay, so she makes her dhuhr 1:40 and she makes her asr 1:45 straight away. So that's in between them. There's no gap. A gap of 2, 3, 4 minutes doesn't matter. And one ghusl for both. But if she doesn't make this like the non-actual combination, then she has to make wudu for each one. So the dhuhr prayer, the time starts, she may not make wudu or ghusl before the actual time of dhuhr to start. So dhuhr starts 12 o'clock. She has to wait until 12 o'clock, and then she makes her ghusl or makes her wudu, and then it is enough for her to make her dhuhr prayer and her sunnah. She doesn't have to make again and again. No, that is enough for her for the whole time. Why she cannot make it before dhuhr, the ghusl? Because she is in darura. Darura means something which is necessity. And because of its necessity, she cannot expand that necessity. Necessity starts when the dhuhr time starts. So she cannot do her purification outside the time of necessity, which is the start of the time of the prayer. So that wudu will suffice for her dhuhr and sunnah. And this is not just for the mustahada, even the ones who got incontinence or flatulence, the ones who got no control of the urine or no control of the wind, those ones, we say to them the same thing. So they make, they are urinating all the time, so they can't really have time where they have purification. They call them ahlul a'dhar, excused people, excused, they've got legitimate excuse. These ones, the same thing we deal with them. We say to them, you make wudu after the time of the dhuhr starts. This will suffice you until the asr, regardless of how much urine comes out and how much as well passing wind of it. So he is in prayer, and my urine comes out. He doesn't have to go to the prayer. He doesn't start, he stays in the prayer. He doesn't have to leave the prayer. So even the urine is coming out of him, but because he cannot control his urine, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that concession. But here as well for those as well, you could really delay the dhuhr and forward the asr, each in its time with one wudu. I don't have to make wudu for each. Same thing with Maghrib and Isha. I hope that I made you to understand this is one of the concession. So that one of the ightisal, which is mustahab, is for the people who are in such situation. One of them is al-mustahada, which is al-mustahada, the one who has blood outside her menses cycle.
Number 3, performing the ghusl after being unconscious. Aisha radiallahu anha said, in his last days, the Prophet ﷺ became grievously unwell. He asked whether the people had performed the prayer. We replied, no, Messenger of Allah ﷺ. They are waiting for you. He said, put water in the tub for me. Aisha radiallahu anha added, we did so. He made the ghusl and tried to stand up, but he fainted. When he recovered, he again asked whether the people had performed the prayer. We said, no, we are waiting for you, Messenger of Allah. He again said, put water in the tub for me. He sat down, made ghusl, and tried to stand up, but he fainted again. Then he recovered and asked, have the people performed the prayer? We replied, no, they are waiting for you, Messenger of Allah. He said, put water in the tub for me. He sat down, made ghusl, and tried to stand up, but he fainted. Then he recovered and asked, have the people performed the prayer? We replied, no, they're waiting for you, Messenger of Allah. In the remainder of the hadith, he sends for Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu to lead the prayer.
Right, this is an incident that took place at the end of the time where the Prophet of Allah is about to die. This is in a few, you could say, days before his death. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Messenger of Allah, he was in fever, and also he used to lose his consciousness, consciousness. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you just had heard the doctor, narrating this hadith, he had actually fainted 4 times, and in which he had made the ghusl 4 times. So he made, every time he faints, he makes ghusl. Every time he faints, he makes ghusl. So this is to emphasize the recommendation, high recommendation, to make the ghusl. Yet he was what? Ill. Prophet of Allah is, ill. And ghusl, by the way, is good for the people who got fever, isn't it? No, potentially, yes. So the water is the best, actually, the remedy for a person who's in fever. Give him, put water in his head. Not freezing water, normal water. My time when I was a kid, and my mother used to teach me to, freezing water. So she gave us a bath in the freezing water. It worked, but I don't know if that is healthy or not. So we say that the Prophet ﷺ had emphasized having the ghusl 4 times. Now, this is recommended. It is not compulsory. But what is compulsory? If somebody had fainted, what he should do to do the prayer? Anybody want to tell me? Somebody fainted. What should you do? The question, somebody fainted, woke up after he fainted about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, collapsed. He just lost consciousness. Want to make ghusl salah? To make the salah, what does he need? Does he need ghusl? Wudu. Because he slept. Remember? He said, this is not deep sleep, this is extra deep sleep. Yeah, extra deep sleep. So if you slept, you make wudu, isn't it? So this is called ighma. So if you are fully unconscious, that means you have lost consciousness. And we said regarding the eyes, there are the drawstrings for, remember, the backside, yes? The eyes asleep, the backside is loose. Prophet he said, made the eyes is like the drawstrings. And he made the backside of yours is like a water skin full of water. So if the eyes closed, then the string is loose. When the string is loose, water comes out. Here, your belly is like a water as well, water back skin. So the wind will come out. So if you're closing your eyes, deep sleep, you don't know what comes out. And that's why you must make the wudu. So if you have consciousness, yes, unconsciousness, you're unconscious, you have to make the wudu. But it is recommended to make the ightisal. Number 4.
Performing the ghusl after burying a polytheist.
A polytheist.
A non-Muslim.
Yeah.
Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu narrated that he came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Abu Talib has passed away. The Prophet ﷺ told him, go and bury him. Ali radiallahu anhu then said that he did so. When he came back to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet told him, perform the ghusl.
Who's Abu Talib? To Ali ibn Abi Talib. It's his father. Look at the way that Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he came to the Prophet ﷺ upon the death of his father. He said, Inna Aba Talib died. He didn't say my father died. This is wala wal bara, ya ikhwan. His father died upon what? Disbelief. He was so kind to him and good to him before he died. But he died upon kufr. Relationship is finished. Abu Talib is going to be in hellfire. And Ali ibn Abi Talib, we definitely know he's in what? In paradise. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said one of the Gilat, 10 people are going to be in paradise. You could really say he is in paradise, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Just like Abu Bakr in paradise, and Umar in paradise, Uthman in paradise, Ali ibn Abi Talib is in paradise. And Abu Talib, definitely 100% is what? In hell. And where about in hell? He's in the shallow fire, the top, not in the bottom of the oven, top, where 2 burning coals underneath his feet and his brain is boiling out of it. This is the minimum heat. Why is being given that? Because of the intercession of the Prophet. The session of the Prophet for his uncle, it was not accepted fully because Allah Azza wa Jalla said that there is no intercession for those who are polytheists, kuffar. You can't intercede for them. But because Abu Talib was kind to the Prophet, because Abu Talib was kind to the Muslims, because Abu Talib, he helped the Muslim and he saved them as well a number of times. He protected the Prophet ﷺ, and he let even the Muslims to be in his place in his valley Shaykh Abi Talib. For they were staying there for a full 3 years being boycotted. So he helped them. Because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he accepted partially of his intercession. And that's why when Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet of Allah, was a Muslim, he said, did you benefit your uncle Abu Talib? O nephew Muhammad, O Prophet of Allah? He said, yes. I raised him from the bottom of the hill to the shallow fire. Alhamdulillah. So one of the hadith, he says, Ali ibn Abi Talib came to the Prophet ﷺ, Inna ammaka ad-dal had died. What should I do? Your uncle who is, misguided, died. That's how Ali ibn Abi Talib is like, my father died as upon shirk. This is the worst thing that can happen to a person. What should I do, Messenger of Allah? So you're not supposed to go and wash him. You're not supposed to pray upon him. You're not supposed to shroud him. So what he said, he said, just go and bury him. If there is nobody to bury him. So there's nobody to bury him, bury him. If there's somebody to bury him, let them bury him. Because he's going to be buried in a non-Muslim cemetery anyway. Idhab fawarihi turab. When he finished, he came to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Ightasil, wash. Why don't we just say it's compulsory then to wash? If you have buried a non-Muslim, it's compulsory upon you to make ghusl. Why is he making it in the ahadith or under the chapter title, which is the recommended wash? Anybody like to tell me? Because there's another hadith, which is hadith Umar al-Khattab, that he said that we used to bury the deceased. Okay. Some of us will wash and some of us does not. We used to carry the deceased. Some of us will make wudu and some does not. And if you remember when we talked about the recommended wudu, one of them is that if you have carried a deceased, whether it's a Muslim or a non-Muslim, it doesn't matter. But it's better if you have washed the deceased to wash. If you have made wudu, if you have carried the deceased, it is recommended to make wudu. If you washed him, it's to wash. It's recommendation. So this is not compulsory, but it is recommended. by number of narrations as well, and generally speaking, that the Prophet ﷺ, he spoke to only Ali ibn Abi Talib, nobody else. If it's to be compulsory, it will be general statement. Any person who he buries a non-Muslim person, then he has to make a wash. But this is only for Ali ibn Abi Talib, and that's why it is recommended. Number 5.
Performing ghusl for the 2 Eids on the day of Arafah. Al-Bayhaqi recorded from Ash-Shafi'i on the authority of Zadan, who said, a man asked Ali about ghusl, and he said, make ghusl every day if you wish. The man replied, no, I'm talking about the washing that is a virtuous ghusl. Ali radiallahu anhu then told him, that is on Friday, the day of Arafah, the day of the sacrifice, and the day of the breaking of fast.
Let's call the day of Friday the day of Jumu'ah. Better. So the day of Jumu'ah. So this is the day of Jumu'ah. It is recommended. He says from the washes, it's recommended according to this hadith. He says Jumu'ah, but the author, he did not put the Jumu'ah as recommended. You see that? He only put what? The Eid and Arafah, because the day of Jumu'ah we said is compulsory. The wash for the Eid, and we discussed that 2 weeks ago. If you want to discuss it further, if somebody's got some clarification regarding this, we don't mind. So the hadith regarding the ghusl of the Jumu'ah, in this hadith, it is not going to tell us whether it's recommended or it's going to tell us whether it is, well, it will tell us recommended, but they're not going to tell us, for example, it is compulsory. But the one tells us compulsory, غُسْلُ يَوْمِ الْجُمُعَةِ وَاجِبٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُحْتَلِمٍ. The wash of the day of Jumu'ah is compulsory on every person who is an adult. So that hadith is a knockout. But here left with the day of Arafah, the day of sacrificial, the day of the Eid. So the day of Arafah, the day of the 2 Eids, whether the Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha, all of those are to be recommended washes. They are not compulsory. Number 6.
Okay, performing the ghusl due to washing a deceased person. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever washes the deceased should make ghusl.
He who washes the deceased, that they make a wash. And we said, Umar al-Khattab, he said, some of us used to make a wash, some of us did not. So it is not compulsory, it is recommended. If you wash the deceased, if you have time to go and have ghusl yourself, do it. Otherwise, you don't have to do ghusl or wudu. It doesn't nullify your wudu if you wash the deceased. Now,
performing ghusl in order to enter the inviolable
ihram, umrah or hajj. Yeah, inviolable state means ihram. Ghusl for ihram or umrah or hajj.
The ihram state for the major pilgrimage, the hajj, or the minor, which is the umrah. Zayd ibn Thabit, may Allah be pleased with him, stated that he saw the Messenger of Allah remove any sewn garments for his ihram state and make ghusl for such.
Right. So the Prophet ﷺ, before saying Labbaik Allahumma bi Umrah or Labbaik Allahumma bi Hajj, before he uttered these words to be in a state of ihram, the Prophet ﷺ made a ghusl. So al-ightisal, just to make sure that you are setting for the ihram, but it's not compulsory. Remember, this is all of it recommended ghusl. So in the places where you make ihram, like Dhul Hulayfa, even if you've been to the Juhfa, or you've been to these places of al-Mawaqit, you'll find, alhamdulillah, that the government has supplied facilities for full ghusl. MashaAllah, you have a full ghusl, nobody can see you, you got water nice there, so you have ghusl there. Anybody got ghusl before you made ihram in those places? Huh? Put your hand up. Anybody made ghusl? Yes, Ashar. So you made ghusl where? In Dhul Hulayfa? Yes, yes. Not in the hotel, in Dhul Hulayfa itself. Yeah, well done. In Dhul Hulayfa as well? Yes. Nice ghusl, mashallah. The water is always warm, not to say maybe hot, mashallah. And you can have ghusl there and your own shower. Then after that, you will do your 2 rak'ah, which is not the 2 rak'ah of the ihram, the 2 rak'ah of the place, the miqat, which is the place, Dhul Hulayfa. If you made umrah from another place, there is no 2 rak'ah. And then after that, you face the qibla, and then you say Labbaik Allahumma bi Umrah. Then after that, you will be in a state of ihram where there are things you're not allowed to do that you were able to do before, like for example, cutting the nails, cutting the hair, and shaving the head, or covering the head, or putting the makhit for the men, and putting the socks, and all of that. It's not allowed until you finish your ihram. Right. Coming now to the number 8.
Okay, number 8, performing the ghusl prior to entering Makkah or before entering the Haram. It is narrated that Ibn Umar would not enter Makkah unless he would spend the night at the
Yeah.
until the morning, and then make ghusl and then enter Makkah during the daytime. He narrated that the Prophet ﷺ had done that.
Right. This is maybe not really, I would say, accessible or available to everybody, but no problem if you even entered Mecca to make the ghusl in the hotel, just for the sake of that, you are making it for entering Mecca. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, using camels. If you are using car, you could just stop before entering Mecca, have a ghusl for the sake of what? Entering Mecca. So, الاغتسال لدخول Mecca. So every time you come to Mecca, you make ightisal. But if you are not, because the coach is not going to stop for you to go and have ghusl before they enter Mecca. Okay, it's going from the airport straight away to the hotel. So in the hotel, you make ghusl with the intention that this is the ghusl. Remember, this is recommended. It is not compulsory. It is rewarded. We're going to add following ghusl. The person who's in janabah before he sleeps. So that's number 9. Make a person who is on janabah. He made intercourse. Okay. It's recommended for him to make the ghusl before he sleeps. And we said in the hadith, if he's not, he's lazy, make wudu. Bit more lazy, make tayammum. The ghusl will be sufficient for you to make the Salat al-Fajr, but not the wudu nor the tayammum. You understand what I'm saying? This is only for sleeping after being on janabah. I repeat again. This ghusl, which is, we say, that's recommended for you to do if you are on janabah. Let's say you had an intercourse with your wife, or you had a wet dream, and you woke up and you saw it and you want to sleep again. We say it's recommended to have the ghusl. That ghusl will be sufficient for you to make the Fajr prayer later on. But also it is recommended, if you don't want to make a ghusl, you're lazy, just make wudu. And that wudu is to make you sleep on tahara for the sleeping, but not going to be sufficient to make what? Salat al-Fajr, you have to have ghusl, because you're on janabah. And also, if you are a bit more lazy, you could make what? Tayammum, just put your hand on the wall, Bismillah, and that's it, khalas. And then you are on tahara, so you could come to the bed, because you're going to make your adhkar, isn't it? Your adhkar to make it on tahara. So that is enough, but it's not going to be enough for you to make Salat al-Fajr. And this hadith, we have said it before, and we're going to add some hadith. Prophet ﷺ said, ثَلَاثَةٌ لَا تَقْرَبُهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. Look at this. 3 types of people whom the angels will not get close to. What type of angels? Not the angels recording your deeds, not the angel of death. No, the angels of mercy. The angels who seek forgiveness for you. Like Jibreel alayhi salam, he will not approach you. Who are these 3? قال جيفة الكافر. The one who is disbeliever and he dies. Okay, so he's rotten, deceased, the disbeliever. They will not approach him. وَالْمُتَمَضِّخُ بِالْخَلُوقِ. And the man who he had put perfume, which is for women. المتمضخ بالخلوق. So المتمضخ بالخلوق, the one who puts the khaluq, which is special type perfume for the women. Angel will not approach him. This is for the men. The third one, which is the person who is on janabah, except if he makes wudu. This hadith says, except if he makes what? The one who's on janabah. So if you are on janabah and you're lazy to make your ghusl, you're lazy to make even wudu, at least make what? Tayammum, so that the angel what? Approach you. You want the angel to approach you, the angels of mercy, the angel who protects you. The angels who are recording your deeds, they will be with you there all the time. The angel of death, regardless where you are, he's going to get you. Even if you're in the toilet, he will get you. Because you will die, you will die. Some of the people who are not knowledgeable, and they're head of groups of Jamaat. I read in their book, which is not correct. Jamaat al-Tabligh. They say, their booklet says, when you are in the toilet, don't make remembrance of Allah. Okay? The reason behind this, because you're going to force the angels to come and record your deeds. That is really sort of a joke. So this person who had made this booklet, I've read it in my own eyes. This book, He said that the main thing is that when you go to the toilet, the angels who are on the right and the left, they are what? Outside. As soon as you do something, dhikr of Allah, they come to record it. So don't force them to come to the toilet. Allah al-Musta'an. Well, if you didn't read with my own eyes, I wouldn't even believe it. How can people teach people like this? This is ignorance. Allah al-Musta'an. These two angels are with you all the time. Wherever you are, they're going to record your deeds. Angel of death will get you, regardless of where you are. So again, hadith as well, the Prophet ﷺ said, if he's to be on janaba and he wants to sleep, he will make wudu or tayammum. But ightisal is to be better. Also Sahih Imam Muslim, on the authority of Aisha radiallahu anha, Prophet ﷺ said, maybe he would make ightisal and he would sleep after janaba. Maybe he would make wudu and he would sleep. Okay, Abdullah ibn Qais, upon hearing he said hadith, he said, Abdullah ibn Qais, the companion, said, Alhamdulillah alladhi ja'ala fil amri sa'atan. Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah, that Allah Azza wa Jal had made the deen to be spacious. So you don't need to make ghusl, you could make what? Wudu to sleep. You could make what? Tayammum to sleep. That's religion, which is what? Flexible. It's not you have to do this, khalas. Alhamdulillah, there's options. Alhamdulillah. Right. Now we've finished with the ghusl. We're going to give you now the cream of the crop. When I want to make ghusl, what do I need to do to strike the sunnah, to gain the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ? So I'm going to give you here the cream of the crop of the ghusl. I've written it myself. No harm for you to go and write it as well. Okay, so this is khulasa muyassara li'a'mal al-ghusl. Number one, intention, which is condition. So intention is what? Condition. So for example, you are on janaba, and let's say that you did not remember, and you were thinking, well, let me have a ghusl because I'm sweaty, and you had a ghusl because you're sweaty. That ghusl will not suffice for the what? For the janaba. You have to have the intention. So you should have remembered that you were, or somebody went to a swimming pool and he started swimming, all his body, mashallah, he thinks, oh, alhamdulillah, I had not just ghusl, I had, if it's swimming pool, it will not work. It has to have intention. So the intention is a condition. Number two, at-tasmiyah, saying Bismillah. Just like we said Bismillah in the wudu, and it's compulsory. It is not a condition. Bismillah. Number three, if you are having a bucket, and you're going to use the bucket to take water with your hand, and when you put the bowl to fetch the water, so your hand going to, so we say, wash hands before you dip. This is recommended. Becomes compulsory if you woke up from a night sleep. Because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, you don't know where your hand slept with. So it must be to wash the hands outside that pot. Okay. Number four, washing the private parts, including the backside, with the left. Recommended. Washing the private parts, including the backside, with the left. Recommended. Number five, washing the hands after you have washed your private part, washing the hands with the soap. Or even the hadith said, wipe it in the dust or the wall. Recommended. So washing the hands with the, because you have touched your private parts. Number six, make wudu and leave your feet, if you are washing yourself in a tub where there is no drainage. So the water is going to be staying there, leave your feet at the end. So you make wudu fully, except for the feet. But if you are like these tubs these days, mashallah, alhamdulillah, has given us this ni'mah of Allah Azza wa Jal. So this tub, no problem, you could wash your feet, because your feet is not going to be staying in the water, the dirty water is going to come out of your body. So you can include your feet as well in the wudu. Number seven, when you put the water onto your head, make the water 3 times and start with the right, then the left, then the middle, and that's recommended. And make sure that you are rubbing with your fingers your hair. So you start with the right, left, and then the middle. Number 8, and that's recommended, we said. Number 8, to put water all over your body, and that's a pillar. If you don't do it, of course, the water has to touch everything. Okay, and it's a rukn. Now, how do I start when I put this? So this is number 8. How do I do this water when I put it in my body? Okay, you start with the right side, then the left, and this is recommended. So putting the water to touch everything, that's a pillar. But how to do it, the recommended act is to start with the right, then the left side. Also to rub if you are hairy, and that's compulsory, because you want to make sure that the water goes inside your hair. Also, it is a pillar to make sure that the water goes into the following places, because some people, they don't know about that, which is your belly button, underarms, your mouth, and your nose. So when you made wudu, alhamdulillah, but some people, they don't make wudu and they did not wash their mouth or the nose, the ghusl is invalid. So the ghusl part of it is you as well, you rinse the mouth and the nose. Now, as for the women, when we put the hair and we wash, when we rub, as for the women, we just give them as well. If you remember, if she is having the wash after her menses stops, she has to undo her hair. Okay, and if it is to do with ghusl of janaba, no, she doesn't have to unplait to undye her hair, because the woman, she takes a long time to plait her hair. So if it is ghusl after, which is once a month after the menses, she has to undo it. But if it is not menses, it is to do with janaba, sexual defilement, whether it is wet dream or whether it is an intercourse, she doesn't have to undo it. She just put the water there. Make sure that if you are washing yourself in a tub where there is no drainage, not to urinate in it. If it has a drainage, no problem, but it's as well, again, some people feel disgusting. If I got you, for example, into my shower place and I knew that you would be urinating in the tub rather than that, that's not going to be good. But as I said, speaking, otherwise I would say it's allowed. It's not going to be sinful. But if there is no drainage, it is sinful. Also, make sure that you are economizing the usage of water. Also, make sure that you don't show your awrah, except for the wife. She could see the awrah, and the husband could see the awrah of his wife. And also, you're the slaves, if we have slaves. Okay? So, not to show the awrah is compulsory, haram to show the awrah. So, make sure that the toilet is locked behind you. The women who have menses and menstruation, she should as well make sure that she follows the trace of the blood in her private part. You're not really asking to wash inside the private part of yours, whether it's a male or a female. Now, this is, alhamdulillah, the end of the cream of the crop, as I said, for the ghusl. There's something just lingering here in the ghusl, which is number 1. I would say maybe it's the only one. It's the only one. Let me just, because I've done all of that. And that is when we have 2 compulsory washes, it is not sufficient to have 1 wash for both. So let's say a woman, she has sexual defilement. And a woman, she had her menses stopped. So she wanted to make this ghusl for both. No, she has to make the ghusl first because she stopped her menses, and then a ghusl for the janaba. A man who's in janaba, it is the day of Jumu'ah. So there's 2 ghusl which are compulsory. One which is what? The janaba. And one which is what? The Jumu'ah. He cannot combine them in 2 ghusl. Sorry, 1 ghusl. It has to be 2 ghusl. When I say here 2 ghusl, it doesn't mean, let's say you're having a shower. If you have a shower, you stop the shower, you get out of it, and you dry yourself, and you go back again. No, I don't mean that. It means that you have the full ghusl, which I've told you now, those 6, 7 points. When you have it, if you want to have the sunnah. If you don't have to do the sunnah, you just make sure that everything, you don't have to make a wudu. That's sufficient for you, madam. As long as you make the madmada, the nose, and your underarms and all these areas between your legs, make sure that the water goes in, that's sufficient. Because the rukn, the pillar is to have the intention, shart, and also to be bismillah, and make sure that the water reaches every single inch of your body, khalas, including the mouth and the nose. Your ghusl is complete. So one ghusl is like that, and then another ghusl. The same, you don't have to leave, you don't have to dry yourself. Your intention now changes from, first of all, janaba, then second one for Jumu'ah. Abu Qatada radiallahu anhu wa arda, he had said to his son when he was having a ghusl on the day of Jumu'ah, he said, son, what are you having as a ghusl? And he's talking to him and he's inside. He's been screened. He said, father, I'm having a ghusl because of sexual defilement, because he was with his wife. So he said, أعد غسلا آخر, repeat another ghusl for the day of the Jumu'ah. Because I've heard the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, من اغتسل يوم الجمعة, he who made a ghusl during the day of Jumu'ah, كان في طهارة إلى الجمعة الأخرى. He will be in purification until the following Jumu'ah. Subhanallah. So this is a command from Abu Qatada to make him repeat another ghusl after he made the ghusl of the janaba. Right. After this, we're going to give you, inshallah, the time for questions. Okay, now, because I think about tayammum, it's going to be taking a bit of time. So this is maybe the best part of the class, which is the question. If you have any questions, tayammum, we'll leave it, inshallah, in 2 weeks' time, and after that, we will talk about the istihaba and the hayd and nifas. So al-hayd, it will be inshallah in 4 weeks' time, inshallah. Any question regarding what we have heard or anything to do with your tahara? If you haven't, anything to do with your deen, if I have an answer, I'll give it. Otherwise, I'll say Allahu ta'ala a'lam. Nah. Faddal ya Habib Zubair.
We do recommend and make up for the obligatory one that previously.
Can you just repeat what you just said?
If we do a recommended
If we added a recommended ghusl, like for example, the ghusl of the day of Arafah.
Can that make up for one that we missed that's obligatory?
Okay. Can this make up for example, a ghusl of janaba? Yeah. So somebody, he's on the day of Arafah. Okay. He made a ghusl of the day of Arafah. He didn't remember that he was what? On janaba. So he made the ghusl, that is for the intention of Arafah, or for the intention of entering Mecca. He remembers as recommended ghusl, or making a state of ihram. But actually he was on janaba. But he didn't remember. So he made the ghusl of Arafah, or the ghusl of entering Mecca, or the ghusl of ihram, okay, the ghusl of the day of the Eid. And then he remembered before he prayed Salat al-Eid, oh, I was in janaba. Is that ghusl of his sufficient or not sufficient? Anybody to tell me? This is a question, a very good question. And I think I've answered it before a long time ago. Yeah? You've answered it?
I think it's yes.
Yeah. Right. Faisal, do you want to answer that question?
Sheikh, it would count for Salah. You have answered that. It would count, yes.
It will count. Very good.
Yes.
Right. Faisal is from America. Is he from America or Canada? I can't remember.
Orlando, Florida, America, Sheikh.
Fine. So this ghusl is enough. What are the conditions for this to be ghusl enough? Number one, it has to be a ghusl which is religiously valid, which is recommended, which is it is, like a day of Arafah. Number two, that you forgot the compulsory ghusl. You didn't remember that you are on janaba. If these two conditions are there, no problem. But if he had ghusl which is not recommended because he's thinking, because he's sweating, and then he remembered he's on janaba, is that sufficient? No, because it's not a religious ghusl. Do you understand that now? So if it is a recommended ghusl, a ghusl that is Sharia said to you to do it, and it was recommended, and actually you were in need of a compulsory ghusl, but you forgot, alhamdulillah, it works. And that's, inshallah, a very beneficial thing. Jazakallah khairan for that.
Something that happened like years ago, for example. And then you didn't have knowledge back then.
It doesn't matter he had knowledge or not. So this person, he had made a ghusl, okay, back, for example, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, and he remembered, wallahi, I have made ghusl, okay, and I'm just asking, why didn't you ask at that time, that person? That comes to my mind. Okay. If that person didn't know and he asked and he was told is enough, alhamdulillah. But if he did not ask and he himself made fatwa to himself, then he has to repeat whatever prayer that he's been doing after that also. You understand that? Yes. Very good question. So if he asked, alhamdulillah, he's been told it's enough. But this person doesn't want to know, doesn't care, let it just be like that. No.
Sheikh, the day of Arafah, let me just clarify this. So you do the ghusl for the day of Arafah. Then after the ghusl, you remember that you were in Jumaadaa as well. So there's no intention. So it will still count?
Yes. That's the question of your son.
Even if you
Remember,
after,
yeah.
After the ghusl.
It doesn't matter whether you remember after or
Okay.
as long as you don't remember before.
Yeah, fine.
If you remember before, you have to make your intention for the what? For the wajib. Can the ghusl of the wajib suffice for the recommended? Yes, not for another wajib.
Oh, so you can do one.
So I could do one ghusl for both. For the janaba and for the arafah. For the janaba and for the ihram. But I want more reward. I'll make one ghusl for the janaba and one ghusl for arafah. More reward. But if it is two compulsory ghusl, no, it doesn't work. So let's say, for example, I'll give you something that you'll understand. I'm a person who made an oath, or I made a vow. By Allah, I'm gonna fast 3 days for the sake of Allah. And by the way, it's not good to make vows like that. Vows does not bring you good, because sometimes you say them because of something nice had happened to you, and then you just make a vow like that. And then later on, you regret. Especially those people who are in desperation. His son is about to die. So he makes this following pledge. Oh Lord, if you cure my son, all the doctors said he's going to die. If you cure my son, I will sacrifice 100 camels. You know, this person had said it. He thinks that this son of his is not what? He's not going to be cured. Because if he's thought for a moment he's going to be cured, he will now be realistic. He will say, for example, 1 camel. But because he's given up and he's like challenging the Almighty, that's why it's not good. This type of vow, it's called Nadr al-Mu'allaq. The vow which is conditioned. So, oh Lord, if you cure him, I will give you. If you don't cure him, I'm not going to give you. Look at that. But if you did it, you have to fulfill it. So he says 100 camels. And Allah gives the miracle. Karam. From that son, Allah gives him the cure. He's so happy, the father. But after that, he's going to wake up for his what? His vow. What am I going to do? I've made a vow of 100 camels. 100 camels, you know how much a camel? It's about 200,000 pounds. It's 200,000 pounds because each camel costs about 2,000 pounds. Now he goes to the sheikh. I did this sheikh, what was it? 100 chicken is okay. He wants to have his count. 100 chicken, 100 rabbits, anything. No, you have to do 100 camels. You have to do it. So this person made a vow to fast 3 days. Ramadan is coming. Let me combine them together. Month of Ramadan plus 3 days. No, it doesn't work. Because each one is what? Compulsory. See what I mean? Compulsory. So I cannot lump the 3 days inside Ramadan. They have to be Ramadan plus 3 days. I could combine obligatory with voluntary. So for example, I am fasting, let's say, vow of 3 days. So I'm choosing Al-Ithnain wal-Khamis. And I'm actually doing as well recommended fast. So I could combine fasting the day of Al-Ithnain, which is recommended for me, plus I'm fulfilling the what? The vow, because compulsory with voluntary, no problem. Like the 6 days of Shawwal. You fasted Ramadan, but you have missed some days. Let's say you missed a day because of your traveling. You missed a day because she's a woman on her menses. Can I put the 6 days of Shawwal with them? No scholar would say to you no. Yes, you could combine them, but you're going to get the special reward. He who finishes Ramadan and then follows it up with 6 days of Shawwal is like he fasted the entire. Yes, you'll get the 6 days of Shawwal, but you're not going to get that special what? Reward, like he fasted the entire year. So if you want the fast of the entire year, finish Ramadan, finish everything missing from Ramadan, make up for all the missed days, then start with the 6 days of Shawwal. Okay? But no scholar will say to you, you're not allowed to combine the obligatory with the recommended. All scholars will have consensus to do that. Now, Jazakallah khairan for that question. Very good question, mashallah. Another question? Anybody else? Fadal. Yeah, you are the son of the doctor, but doesn't mean that you have a green card, you know.
I've got 4 here.
I'm reading quite a few places, quite a few books that in toilet there's only 2 parts, entering and outing. But now those books were written about 50, 40 years ago. Now the world changed. Now bathroom is quite big, modern bathroom, toilet is there, shower is there, sink is there. My question is, while in the bathroom or toilet, whatever it
Which is like a bedroom or a mansion.
can like you ask up there, like there's quite a few books.
No problem to make dhikr of Allah except in a place where it is a toilet and inside while you are doing it. Okay, so if it is like you said, got a basin, you've got even jacuzzi, and I've got lots of things. Okay, so no problem to say Bismillah. It's only you're not allowed to say to Bismillah because you missed some of the class at the beginning. It is not to say Bismillah when you are doing it or you are actually on top of it. That's why we're not allowing to make wudu on top of that hole where you urinate in. You're not allowed to make wudu there. You have to make wudu away from it. Even it's away just about an inch or half a meter. Some of the toilets are very tight as well. Not everybody's got a toilet like yours, mashallah, as I mentioned. I'm only just teasing you. Now,
Two clarifications and a few questions.
yeah.
One is you said in the janaba that you would either do the ghusl, the wudu, or the tayammum, and then go to sleep. Then you said that the ghusl will suffice for the fajr. I just want to clarify because maybe some people have interpreted it in the wrong way, that when you wake up, you still have to do the wudu.
Yeah, but you don't have to do the ghusl, of course.
I just want to just
Yeah, of course. Anybody makes, but you don't have to make the ghusl.
Yeah, I just want to be
Yes, inshallah. But the wudu, let's say that the wudu, you made wudu and you stayed awake. You wanted to stay, but you stayed awake. It's not enough for you to make the fajr because you're on dinner. Okay, second clarification.
The second one was on the day of the Jummah, when you do the janaba ghusl. When you do the Jummah one, do you have to rewash the private parts and then
Full ghusl, same thing. Full ghusl. If you want to have full reward, full ghusl. You go to full reward.
Yeah.
But if you want just sufficient, no. As I said, just to make sure that intention, and Bismillah, and the water goes in everywhere, including those areas where people they think it is not part of the body, inside the mouth, inside the nose, underarms, the navel. Make sure the water goes in the navel. And don't poke your belly button. Just to make sure the water goes into it. Don't poke it and harm yourself. Okay. So make sure that all these areas, we call in Arabic al-maghabin. Maghabin means the areas which are very hidden, where water may not go inside there. Now
the sisters have got 4 questions. So, yeah.
Fadal.
If a woman completes her menses and she's unable to perform the ghusl,
If a woman complete her menses,
she's unable to perform the ghusl, and the time of the salah comes, but she cannot do the ghusl due to being at school or at work or away from home, what should she do? So the woman completes the menses, but she's not in the house. She's like in school or at work.
but she wants to do the prayer.
And the time of the prayer has come. What should she do?
Something that happened to the camera. It's out of focus. Let me just switch it. Oh, yes, okay. All right. Yeah, so this woman, she had her menses. She must have a wash before she commences her prayer. Now she's saying, is she allowed, for example, to make tayammum? That I will discuss it in the tayammum. But an answer, no. Well, I will discuss this. Those people who wake up just about before sunrise, if they make the ghusl, time will run out. Can they make tayammum? No. Okay, we'll speak about that inshallah, but just as a big no before we start. Okay, we will talk about it inshallah properly, and we'll say to you, no, you have to have the ghusl. The only time you can make tayammum is either the water is not there, or you're not able to use it for any reason. For example, you are ill or something like this. You can't use it. There's a lion next to the well of water. You can approach it, no problem. All the scholars, they mentioned this. They can approach it. There's a hyena there. Now,
you said to wipe your hands on the wall to perform the
before you do this, I just the scholars, they go as far as, for example, lots of things. Can I use tayammum or not? So, for example, that you have water, which is very little, and it's not going to be enough for ghusl. Can I make intercourse? Because it's going to entail what might have washed. Okay, so these things, I'm not going to give you the answers. I'm going to give you the answer, inshallah, just to tell you that if had no water, little water, if I make ghusl, if I make sexual intercourse, I'm finished. I'm going to use tayammum. Am I allowed to do that? Or, for example, you are coming to the day of Jum'ah, and there's no water. Only water can be sold. So the price of the bottle, 20 pounds. Okay? Scholars go this, 20 pounds. Am I allowed to use tayammum or not? I'm not going to tell you the answer. Ask me, inshallah, on that class. This is just to give you the foretaste for that. Am I allowed to have tayammum or not? Or shall I buy the water? Okay? These questions as well. Everything that comes to your mind, put it there and explore. Because you don't know. So we'll tell that sister, you have to. This work of yours is not a necessity. Your ibadah is a necessity. Go home. Ask for permission. Go home. Half a day, whatever it is. I can't stay. I have to. Or if you have a facility in the work where there is a ghusl, where there is secured, because there's cameras everywhere these days. Okay, and the Prophet ﷺ, he said, any woman who she takes off her clothes outside the house of her husband, is her husband or her relative, her father, okay, she is to be like a fornicator. So this is not in a secure place. So if, for example, I had a friend who coming with his wife to my house, can she have a ghusl? Yes, she can. Because his husband is present there to protect her. She will have a ghusl and everything, as long as you trust the brother, there's no cameras or something like this. So no problem. But the women at the time of the Prophet, they used to be in Bilad al-Sham. They used to go to a place called the sauna places, sauna and all of that. Hammam al-Bukhari is called. They go to Bilad al-Sham, and the women, they get naked in front of each other. And that's why Aisha, she had a woman from there. She said, "Are you from the place where the women go to these hammamat?" She said, "Yes." She said, "Well, the Prophet told us not to, to do such a thing. Forbade us from doing such a thing."
You said to wipe your hands on the wall to perform the tayammum. Can this be done in any painted or tile wall?
Again, I can't answer this question. I'll have no class for it. I'll have no class. So, but just to give it up, because she asked the question, the wall is painted. The wall is painted either by paint, which is, first of all, it has to be wall, not plasterboard. Wall is a wall, like bricks, not the wooden one. Wooden is not tayammum. So the wall, if it is stud wall, okay, it's made of the earth. So, and if you're not sure, just bring a brick from outside and that's it. Not to break the head of your husband. No. You're laughing. A brick will make it tayammum. So bring a brick or a tile or something like this. If the wall is painted by oil paste paint, or it's got paper, wallpaper, you're not allowed to make tayammum on that wall. But if it is water-based, emulsion, it's called emulsion. Water-based, that does not prevent, it's not an isolated material between your hand and the actual wall. So if your wall, mashallah, is outside, that's plasterboard. Okay? So if it's a wall, that's not wall.
Every wall has plasterboard.
Yeah, but it can't be.
Inside the houses, they all have plasterboard.
No, but some of them they have, like ours in our country, they don't.
Okay. Well, I think
we don't have plasterboard at all in our country. It's a bricks and a
it's good to clarify that with brothers.
yeah, for cement. It has to be cement.
Yeah. So almost every internal wall now has plasterboard.
And the scholars even differed about the cement.
And the plasterboard has a piece of paper as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. So plasterboard, it doesn't work. I just said to you. But as I said, our Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, even he doesn't agree on the cement. What is actually cement is made of the earth. Anything to do with the earth, from the sand, not the metal, not the wood, from the earth, the dirt is inshallah allowed. We'll talk about that inshallah in 2 weeks' time.
Just before I finish this, just the brothers that are new, this book, I would strongly recommend to get it. It's the concise presentation of the Fiqh.
If you are an Arab, get it in Arabic. If you are English, get it.
Just let me know. I'll give this to you because when the Sheikh is speaking, there's things that you will not have in the book. And if you're not writing as you're going along, trust me, in a month you'll forget it. Or in a week you'll forget it. So do take it seriously and get the book. The third question, it's not allowed to tie the hair high up and have a camel hump when wearing the hijab. But is it allowed for sisters to tie their hair up when at home?
That's a good question. And the sisters, mashallah, ask very, very delicate questions. Why is she said that this hump, this is make it tying the hair like, you know, like a tower on top of her head, a tower? Okay. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he talked about صنفان من الناس لم أره ما بعد. Two types of people I haven't seen them yet. One of these type of people, قال نساء كاسيات عاريات. Women who are dressed but not dressed, they're naked, so they're half dressed. قال مائلات مميلات. This way when they walk to tempt other people. رؤوسهن كأسنمة البخت المائلة. Their heads like a camel hump. See, camel hump. Camel hump is like, so when they go like this, you could see that some of the women even they don't have that much hair to do it. They bring a special hair tie. In Arabic booklet, it's called booklet, hair tie. And she puts in her scarf and she makes, I don't know if she thinks that she looks beautiful like that, but she looks an alien to me. You know, it's a big, massive, look at the one who was cook, the chef, massive thing. Some of them I have even seen them, they put, the yogurt tins, but we have our yogurt tins that half a kilo, 500 grams. Okay, well, the one, they are rounded. They put their hair inside it. I've seen it. So they put the hair inside it. So they put the scarf, and you could see the rim of that yogurt tin, okay, on the top, because maybe they can't afford the book. This has been a fashion in our country. They look so funny, but you see, they don't look funny for themselves or for the youth who are being polluted. You know, when your fitrah is polluted, you don't know if this is correct or wrong. For you, somebody, if you saw nails are long, what do you think? Ugh. Dirt. But the women who are being fitrah, being twisted, they make it long. And they haven't got proper long, they even buy false nails. They think they are beautiful. I think they are like monsters, subhanallah. So this is fitrah maqluba, upside down fitrah. For you, the fitrah is that the man has got a beard. Prophet ﷺ's Aisha, wife, she's young. She says, وَالَّذِي زَيَّنَ الرِّجَالَ بِاللِّحَى. By the one who had beautified men with a beard. So she's making an oath by Allah in the following way. By the one who beautified the men with beard. So that means for her, because her fitrah is settled and correct, that the beard for the man is a beauty. But for the ones whom the women or the fitrah completely been wiped out, no, this looks ugly. I want it to be clean shaven. No, clean shaven and the arms and between the legs. That's clean shaven. Here for the man is no clean shaven. Here you are like a this is a man. Allah pictured as a man. That's why the man goes here, like a lion. Have you ever seen a lion shaven? I haven't seen a lion shaven yet. Have you seen a lion shaven? Go to the mirror shaving himself. So coming to the question, we say that is, if she is doing it for the sake of, because she wants to dry her hair, no problem. But for the sake of beauty, even inside her house, she should avoid it. For the sake of beauty, because we don't want her to get used to that. But if, for example, let's say that she's coming from the shower, sometimes they dry it up by tying it up, upwards. No problem for dry, but not for beauty. She should not make it like, we call it in Arabic, cake, like cake. Put a cake on her.
The zikr after the wudu, when doing the ghusl, would you say it after the complete ghusl or after the wudu component?
A very good question, mashallah. She's talking about in the ghusl.
Yes.
Yeah. In the ghusl, there is no dhikr of the wudu in the ghusl. Okay? So you are making the wudu, including, so the ghusl is within it, the wudu, but it's not to do with, for example, I started Bismillah, and then I make wudu, I don't say another Bismillah. And I don't make another as well, Allahumma ja'alni min at-tawbin wa ja'alni mutahhirin in that wudu. That wudu is part of the ghusl. So it hasn't got, like, for example, the same dhikr of the wudu that you do outside. Jazakallah. Very good question, mashallah. The sisters who are asking this question, they showed me that, mashallah, they're brainy. I have never had this question before. Mashallah. Made in head. Made in head.
Yeah. Is there any zikr after the ghusl?
Is there any dhikr after the ghusl? There is no dhikr after the ghusl. We mentioned from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. And I apologize for the brothers here. I'll tell you what. Can I just give them, because Fadla ya Faisal. Faisal, put your hands up from there.
They ask good questions.
Yeah. Fadla ya Faisal.
Sure. So thank you so much. So you said that all the areas have to get hit. Water has to reach all area. Does that include between the buttocks?
Yes, any water, not in the buttocks, between the yeah.
Yes, between.
Yes. Because I said you're not allowed to wash inside your private parts.
Okay, no. I don't mean in between the crack, as we say.
Between the legs. I said in
Yes.
the back away, Faisal. I said between the legs. See what I mean?
Okay. Jazakallahu khairan, Shaykhana.
Jazaka habibi. Questions and answers?
Sheikh, we've got about 10 questions from the sisters.
Just pick up one or two.
She's asking, okay, the first one, Shaykhana, she's asking, after intercourse, if the woman starts her monthly cycle and then she completes it and she finishes it, does she have to make two ghusl or one?
Did you saw the question now? The sister now having, mashallah, khayal wasa, visiting lots of questions. She's saying that she had made intercourse with her husband. Suddenly the menses started. Okay? When she finishes her cycle, does she do two ghusl? Do you understand what I'm saying? For the janaba and for the menses, or just one ghusl for both? Do you understand that? MashaAllah. Well done, wallahi. I cannot have an answer for this in terms of, I don't have an answer. Allahu A'lam. But I will tell her that she must do the ghusl of what? She must do the ghusl of what? Of the menses. She must do the ghusl of the menses. As for the janaba, it's been for a long time. Is it being lumped? She has to do another ghusl? Allahu A'lam. But qa'idat al-ihtiyat, to be on the safe side, do two ghusl. Just to be the safe side. But I cannot say that this is the correct opinion, because I have to do studying of this. MashaAllah. It's a very good question. Jazakallah khair. Another question?
Jazakallahu khairan, Shaykhana. Another sister wants to know if she was ignorant about washing the nose and mouth in the ghusl, does she have to make up all of those prayers?
Nothing. If the person is ignorant, he will not be accounted for his ignorance. He didn't know. طيب. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت